The reason those people are particularly blessed is that when you're mourning, when you're hungry and thirsty, when you are being persecuted, that's when you most know your need of God. It's when you most know you can't do it by yourself, and that God is there for you. So it's not in the suffering that the blessing comes. It's what you're open to when you are suffering, which is the presence of God and God's abundant love and God's steadfast presence. So the Beatitudes are great because it reminds us that when we are in those extreme situations, we are the most blessed because God is most available to us. And I would say that LGBT people, in the kind of treatment we've had, even from religious people, makes us unusually open to God. And at the end of the day, that is an enormous blessing. The problem is that because we've been treated that way so often by religious people, we have walked away from religion. And as one of the two of you said, we're in danger of throwing out the baby with the anti-gay bathwater, right? And so, I want to make an argument for not only us putting our spirituality and our sexuality together, but I'll go out on a limb here, putting religion and our sexuality together. Now, institutions are not well thought of these days, any of them, and for pretty good reason. Institutional religion certainly has got a bad reputation, almost all of it well-deserved. But I would make the argument to you that over time, institutional religion has been the way we have kept the truth alive. It's really rather remarkable that we are still talking about this man Jesus who walked the earth 2,000 years ago, or about Moses who walked the earth 3,000 years ago, and that's because of institutional religion. Now, it makes mistakes, and it takes way too long to change, but ultimately, it is what passes the truth along. So, you can't be more bought into the institutional church than being a bishop. So, I have to sort of say that. But the reason I agree to do this is that I actually believe in it. And, my church isn't anything close to perfect. And, I dread going back over there to the House of Bishops meeting in Navasota because of a lot of what I'll have to deal with there. But I intensely believe in it. And I believe that God still works in and through it. Although I have to believe that God is constantly like slapping himself on the forehead and thinking, oh my God. Well, maybe he wouldn't say that. But let me just say one thing that I'm really most proud of. And the Episcopal Church has put itself out there on this issue. And as messy and as ugly as it sometimes has been out there for the world to see. And in 2003, after I was elected in New Hampshire, and we came to the General Convention for the necessary consents by the rest of the church, there was this great debate, and the Bishop of Wyoming, sort of this Marlboro man-looking cowboy bishop, gets up in the House of Bishops and says, "Not since the civil rights movement of the 60s have I seen this church risk its life for something." And that's what I think we're contemplating doing. And that's what you've seen in this last 7 years. You've heard about the schism, although it's really small. If to read the newspapers, you would think it was a 50-50 split. It's a small number of people who find it impossible to stay in a church that says it's going to love its gay and lesbian, bisexual, and transgender children as children of God. It's a small group, and I'm really sorry about that. But I am really proud of a church that has risked its institutional life on loving all of God's children. In 2003, we did this great thing. In 2006, at the next General Convention, we had heard from the rest of the communion that we had been bad boys and girls. And so we wondered if we had done the right thing. And in 2009, last summer, after thinking about that, whether we had done the right thing or not, we decided, no, we hadn't done the wrong thing. We had done the right thing, and that we were going to move forward. And in December, the Diocese of Los Angeles elected Mary Glasspool as the first lesbian bishop. And just this past Wednesday, Mary got the final consent from the last bishop that she needed. And the next day on Thursday, she, like I, came to Navasota, Texas, to take her place in our House of Bishops. And I can't tell you how thrilled, how excited I am. She is an awesome human being and Christian. She will be a great bishop. But more than that, it was the Episcopal Church's way of saying, no turning back. No turning back. We are doing it. I really do want to take a couple of questions. Let me just, let me end by saying that we have great and serious work ahead of us. It is going to take hard work by all of us. But let me tell you what I believe with my whole heart. And I think it's the key for us to never get cynical, never get so angry that we become paralyzed, that we never get burned up or burned out, how we keep going. And that's this, and this is going to sound arrogant or Pollyanna-ish or both. As a believer in God, I believe that God is about the redemption and the liberation of us all. And I believe it was Dr. King quoting someone else about the arc of history being long but bending towards justice. I believe that with my whole heart, and I believe that you and I know how this is going to end. Don't we? We know that this is going to end with the full inclusion of gay and lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people, all of God's children. We're gonna think up some other alphabet there. And day before yesterday, I stood up in the House of Bishops. We were debating the gay marriage, and I said, you know, the gay community has actually learned along the way. You know, first of all, we were the gay community. And then lesbians said to us, look, you know what? Our experience is actually quite different from yours. So we became the gay and lesbian community. And then bisexuals said to us, hello, our experience is different from yours. And then transgender people, perhaps the most courageous people of all, came forward to say, yeah, but our experience is different than that. Well, so like, we're going to run out of letters, right?